welcome to another deep dive. Today we've got some seriously cool stuff to dig into about Ravana.
Yeah.
You know, from the Ramayana.
Yeah, definitely. Always a fascinating character.
I mean, most people know him as this, like, 10-headed demon king, right? The guy who kidnapped Sita.
Right. Epitome of evil, basically.
But the sources you gave me this time, they're saying maybe there's a whole other side to the story.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're going way beyond the surface level this time.
Some of them even suggest that Ravana might be, get this, an avatar of Vishnu. Can you believe that?
It is a wild idea, isn't it? But when you really start looking at some of the stuff in these sources, it makes you think twice.
Like, how do we even define good and evil when the sources describe Ravana as this super smart scholar, a devoted follower of Shiva?
Right. Not to mention, he composed the Shiva Tandav. That's pretty impressive for an evil demon king.
And even Hanuman, when he went to Lanka, described it as a golden city, which makes it sound like Ravana was a pretty good ruler, too.
It definitely challenges the image of a purely evil being. And get this, the sources even say Ravana possessed the Mitra Sanjivani, you know, that divine medicine from Shiva.
Wait, really? I don't remember that from the traditional stories.
Nope. And supposedly, he even used it to revive Rama and Lakshmana after a battle, so maybe he wasn't so bad after all.
And then there's the whole thing with the number 10. We know Vishnu has 10 avatars, 10 powers, but then the sources keep pointing to Lankeshvara Dasha Anana. Dasha Anana means 10-faced.
Yeah, like they're emphasizing that connection on purpose.
Is that just a coincidence? Or could Ravana's 10 heads represent something more? Maybe a link to the 10 avatars?
Honestly, it's hard to think it's just a coincidence at this point, especially with how these sources lay it all out.
Right. Makes you wonder about the traditional Ramayana, too. Like, was Rama really the perfect hero?
Well, the sources definitely have some thoughts about that. They suggest he wasn't exactly flawless.
I mean, I always thought it was weird how his whole quest was driven by rescuing Sita.
Right. But the sources point out that it wasn't just about getting her back. It was about her as a person.
Okay, so not just about, possessiveness or anything like that.
Exactly. One of the sources even analyzes the Aranyakanda, where Rama is lamenting Sita's absence.
Yeah.
And it points out that his grief is all about her as an possession or something like that.
That's interesting.
Right. And it doesn't stop there. The sources bring up all these killings that Rama is responsible for.
Like, beyond just battling Ravana.
Yeah. Vali, Jatayu, Shambuka, Dundubi, even Kabanda. It's a whole list.
That's quite a lot when you put it like that.
And there's this song, Lanka Ishvara. It really digs into all these killings.
Oh, yeah, I read about that one.
The lyrics are pretty intense. They ask stuff like, what justice lives in the lives you tear?
Yeah, and a demon or a king who walks with this guy, it's definitely a different perspective.
For sure. And get this, song claims that Ravana actually revived Rama and Lakshmana.
No way. Really?
Yeah, using the Mitra Sanjivani. It even taunts Rama about it, like, remember that time you died in Lanka?
Whoa. That completely flips the script on who's really in control.
Right. And there's even more. According to the sources, Rama might not have even been a legitimate king.
What? How's that?
Well, they say, in their interpretation, he wasn't married when he got exiled, and apparently to be king, you got to be married.
Huh. Never thought about that.
Yeah, so it kind of casts doubt on his whole claim to the throne.
So we've got a potentially flawed hero, maybe not even a real king, and then there's how he treated Sita when she got back.
Right. The sources argue that sending her away, even after she proved her purity, was a huge betrayal.
They're saying he chose public opinion over his own wife.
Yeah. And they ask, what kind of king drives his queen away?
That's pretty harsh, but kind of makes you think.
They don't hold back. And for anyone who just blindly accepts the traditional story, they're basically saying, don't just take things at face value. Think critically about it all.
So does that mean we're supposed to completely ditch the Ramayana and see Ravana as the good guy?
Not exactly. It's more about seeing both Rama and Ravana as complex. They both did good and bad things.
Okay, so less about good versus evil, and more about understanding the nuances of their motivations.
Right. And the sources bring up some really interesting things to consider when we do that. For example, it really makes you question how much of what we think we know about history is accurate.
And that leads us to Sri Lanka itself. The conversation between Pasan and Mystica R. They had some really fascinating ideas about it.
Oh, yeah. Like how Sri Lankans still revere beings like yakshas and Mahasan, who are often seen as demons in other cultures.
Yeah. And they even suggest that the word demon might not have translated well into Sri Lankan spirituality.
So maybe they were just mislabeled, not actually eradicated.
It's a really interesting perspective. And it ties into their idea that Sri Lanka might have this special energy or something.
Like it somehow protected from global disasters because of its location or energy.
Which makes you wonder, could there be something to that? Sri Lanka has survived a lot throughout history.
It definitely has. And they even connect this to a potential shift to the other side of the Milky Way.
Whoa, seriously? Like some massive cosmic change?
Yep. They talk about the possibility of another great flood or a land shift.
That's pretty wild. And then there's that whole thing about the African Large Low Shear Velocity Province, the LLSVP.
Oh, right. That huge gravitational anomaly.
They were speculating that it might be connected to ancient Yona civilizations, maybe even with advanced technology buried underground.
It's definitely an intriguing thought. And it shows how these sources are pushing us to think outside the box.
To see connections between science, mythology, history, it's all intertwined.
Exactly. And finally, they touch upon the Lankavatara Sutra. It's a Buddhist text that delves into the nature of mind and reality.
Okay, so even bringing Buddhist philosophy into the mix.
Right. It's all about how our perceptions shape our reality and how true liberation comes from transcending those limitations.
Wow, that's deep.
It is. And it provides a really interesting lens through which to view not only the Ramayana, but also our own lives and experiences.
It sounds like this deep dive is going to be less about finding concrete answers and more about opening up new ways of thinking.
Exactly. It's about questioning everything we thought we knew and exploring the infinite possibilities that exist beneath the surface.
I'm definitely intrigued. Let's dive in.
It's amazing, isn't it, how these different interpretations can completely change how you see a story as familiar as the Ramayana.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how much of what we believe is shaped by, well, the way it's always been told.
Right. Like we get stuck in one perspective and forget there might be other ways of looking at things.
And that's what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
They force us to question everything, to really think critically.
And these sources do a great job of that. They bring up so many thought-provoking ideas, like that whole thing about Shiva worship.
Oh, yeah. And it makes you wonder what other historical facts might be based on, well, maybe incomplete or biased information.
Exactly. And that whole conversation between Pasan and Mystica R about Sri Lanka, they were full of these mind-blowing ideas.
Oh, yeah. That was a trip. Like, they suggested that Sri Lanka might have this unique energy or something that protects it from global disasters.
Right. They were connecting it to its location, its history, even its spiritual traditions.
Which is fascinating because, Sri Lanka has survived so much turmoil throughout history. Wars, tsunamis, you name it.
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder if there's something to their theory. Like, could Sri Lanka be a haven for future events, too?
Like they talked about, another great flood or some major shift in the Earth's alignment.
Exactly. And while the idea of a force field around Sri Lanka might sound far-fetched, their emphasis on the island's reverence for ancient beings, like yakshas, really stuck with me.
Me too. It's like they're suggesting that this deep connection to spiritual traditions might contribute to Sri Lanka's resilience.
Right. It's like a different way of understanding the world, maybe a more ancient way that we've forgotten in other parts of the world.
It makes you think maybe there's a lesson in there for us today, especially with all the challenges we're facing globally.
Absolutely. And, they didn't stop there. They also brought up that fascinating scientific mystery, the African Large Low Shear Velocity Province.
Oh, yeah, the LLSVP, that massive gravitational anomaly under Africa. That one was wild.
I know. They were speculating about a possible connection to ancient civilizations, maybe even some kind of advanced technology buried deep underground.
It sounded like something straight out of science fiction. Ancient Yona civilizations with tech we can't even fathom today.
It really pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible, doesn't it? And it challenges us to reconsider our understanding of both science and history.
Definitely. And all of this leads us back to the Lankavatara Sutra, which, while not a major focus in the Pasan and Mystica R conversation, offers a powerful lens for understanding these reinterpretations.
Oh, absolutely. The Lankavatara Sutra is all about the nature of mind, perception, and reality.
And how those things shape our experience of the world.
Exactly. It explores these really profound concepts like emptiness, non-arising, and the illusory nature of the self.
So basically it's saying that the way we see things might not be the only way, or even the true way.
Right. And this applies not just to our understanding of the Ramayana, but to everything in life.
So if we apply this to the Ramayana, How does it change our understanding of characters like Rama and Ravana?
It encourages us to move beyond those simple labels of hero and villain and to see them as representations of different aspects of ourselves.
Like maybe the demons we fear are just projections of our own negative thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. And the divine beings we worship could be seen as aspects of our own higher selves.
Whoa, that's a mind-blowing way to look at it.
It is, isn't it?
It's like a reminder to be critical of the narratives we've been given and to seek out different perspectives.
Exactly. To always be questioning, exploring, and expanding our understanding.
That's what makes these deep dives so much fun, isn't it?
Definitely. It's all about embracing curiosity and the mystery of the unknown. It really makes you think differently about these ancient stories, right? When you start seeing them in a new light.
It does. And it's not just about mythology either. These sources are encouraging us to question everything.
Yeah, totally. Like to approach all areas of knowledge with the same kind of critical thinking.
To not just accept things at face value because that's the way they've always been presented.
Right. Science, history, even our own personal beliefs. It's healthy to question those things sometimes.
I think so too. It's
Yeah.
all about keeping an open mind and being willing to consider different perspectives.
Absolutely. And remember, learning is a lifelong journey. There's always something new to discover.
That's so true. There's always more to learn, more to understand about ourselves and the world around us.
And that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding, isn't it?
It is. They always leave me with more questions than answers.
Me too. But in a good way. It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging people to explore further.
This deep dive into the world of Ravana has definitely done that for me. From reinterpreting his character, to exploring Sri Lanka's unique energy, to even considering the possibility of ancient civilizations with advanced technology.
And we even touched upon Buddhist philosophy with the Lankavatara Sutra. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. So listener, what are your thoughts? What resonated with you most from this exploration?
What new perspectives have you gained about the Ramayana, about history, about yourself even?
We encourage you to keep diving deeper, explore the sources we discussed, do your own research, and most importantly, keep asking questions.
The deeper you delve, the more fascinating the story becomes. Until next time.